I'm Sinead, I'm 29.
I'm Molly, I'm 19.
I'm Ruth, I'm 48.
I'm Aoife, I'm 32.
Hello, I'm Rose, I'm 72. 18% of people would not report groping or touching without consent, and 64% of people would report a sexual assault in the workplace to the Gardaí. What do you consider to be a reportable offence?
That actually happened to me over the summer. I was at a music festival and me and my boyfriend was with me and one of our friends was with me, and the three of us were trying to there was we were trying to get to the main stage to see our favourite band, and there was a transition between groups. So the couple of lads in front of us, they must have been in their late 20s, I think. They were letting us, they said, oh, come through here, come this way, and we were like, oh, thank you so much. And I was the last person walking through, and I was wearing I say a dress, it was a floaty orange dress, and it came down to about my knees. Now, I'm not saying my clothing would have condoned it, but I wasn't, you know what I'm saying. It was fairly modest clothing, and guy just puts his hand right up my dress, and I was just like, okay, right. I just I didn't know what to do because
what do you do?
Did your friends see that?
No, and I didn't say anything because when we got further ahead, the boys were still there, and I knew if I'd said something that my boyfriend might have tried to. These were significantly older, bigger guys. I was like, I don't want to cause any trouble here. But I told them later, and they were both appalled. But I didn't know who to tell because it was a big crowd music festival, and I was like, who do you tell, and will it even be taken seriously? I know, and I was really annoyed because I consider myself to be such a feminist, and I'm really vocal about all that, and I had all this stuff that I was like, this is what I'll hypothetically say in this situation if it ever happens. But then when it actually did happen, I was just thinking, this is not happening right now,
And it's not a split second, but it happens probably so quickly.
Yeah. He said something to me as he was doing it. I don't even remember, but he was calling me gorgeous. So it was really insidious. He was complimenting me as he did it. So I'd look like a bitch if I suddenly flipped out. I just went, could you just not touch me there? And I just kind of surged forward in the crowd as much as I could. But I didn't know what to do in a real life scenario of that happening.
But I do think that more women feel empowered, and it's probably the Me Too, because this morning there was a report from the Rape Crisis Centre to say that 13,000 more women reported in the last year than any other year. Now, they may have been reporting rape, assault, the sort of thing that happened to you or anything, but that means a lot more women felt able to report it. 13,000 is a lot up on last year and the years before. So I think maybe more women do feel it's okay to call men on different things.
But something like that, you're faced with, do I do something now? Do I call this person out? Do I shout? What do you actually do, and what can be done? You
shout.
That's not easy for a lot of people, though. And
no, I know
it's there. The situations you go home and you think an hour later, I should have said, and I should have said, and I should have said. But in the moment, you're too shocked.
Yeah.
More than anything else to do something in that moment. But I think it comes down to we somehow need, I don't know if it's education, but we need that not to be a socially accepted behaviour amongst a group of young men. Their peers need to say, you shouldn't have done that. That's not,
there was not in my school, but in one of my friends' schools, certainly, when she was in second or third year, a load of the boys, either in her year or a year above, had a ass slap day where they just went around slapping the asses of any girl they could see in the hallway, basically.
Where does that come? Where in any planet?
Who allowed that normal?
I'm really glad I'm not a teenager.
That's awful.
Yeah. There's other instances too of minor things. Boys will ask you to, growing up with Snapchat and everything being so big, boys will be asking you for pictures of yourself and sending you unsolicited pictures of themselves, which you did not ask for. It's such a big thing, and I think it's great that with the Me Too movement, people feel more empowered, and what the statistic was saying about in the workforce, people have that much empowerment to go and actually say. But the tricky thing is, what is when you're trying to justify it to yourself, oh, was this really that big a deal? Or with the case of social media, it's really hard to report someone sending you a certain photo of themselves. You don't really know how to go about reporting that to someone who can do something about it or who could do something about it.
And even being able to talk about it though,
Yeah.
to somebody, because I have teenagers, well, 2 of them are not, or gone beyond that now, but I have in my own head what I call my mother game face, so that I try not to, it's very difficult, but in order for my kids to tell me things, I have to not react, you know, when they tell you things like that. Like if my daughter told me something like that, like my inner voice is going, ah. But you know, so it's to have somebody that you can go to and say, this happened to me, I don't think it was right, and to be vindicated and learn that no, that's not right, it's not acceptable, because I don't know on what planet that ever was acceptable anywhere for anybody to do that to anybody. And so how now is it? It's never been right, so why now is it perceived to be?
No, it's no. It was never perceived to be right, but men were perceived as getting away with it, and a bit of laddish stuff and
It's
all of
just
that,
banter.
and banter, and sure, aren't we all different anyway, and that kind of nonsense. And there's far more done about it now because people are far more aware of the
Yeah,
sort of
I
dignity of womanhood, and
It's always kind
we're in a
happened.
sort of a watershed where we're nearly there, not nearly there, part of the way there. I think maybe in 3 or 4 years' time, women will feel automatically that they can say, F off, stop it, or whatever, you
Fingers
know.
crossed.
I do see it coming because I see it happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I definitely, after it happened, I'm definitely like, right, that was, I would feel more comfortable now. I was like, I should have said something. I was really
I do
annoyed.
sympathise with you as well, because I think I probably would have reacted the same way. Like you said, you were afraid that your boyfriend was going to get in a fight.
Yeah.
He's bigger than you, you're scared, you froze. And to be honest, who were you going to report it to?
Yeah, yeah.
Who were you going to find that was going to...
We were in the middle of a big,
No,
like if it had been like maybe we were it was a smaller group, but we were in the middle of a big mass of thousands of people at a concert.
And he's aware of all that.
There was
He
no,
knew.
he took advantage. But one thing I was going to say is I think that what you were saying, I think you mentioned earlier about how pornography is being exposed to so many young people. I remember being in first year and sitting in the back of a free class, and I was sitting here and there were boys sitting this side and this side of me, and they all started talking about the porn they watched.
What class?
First year.
Oh,
So
gosh.
I was 12. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have been older than 13, talking about the sort of stuff they were watching. And I don't want to go into a whole thing of, shaming people for watching certain videos, but when young people are watching it, it's really, really dangerous.
It makes such an impression.
I think they always have, though. It's always been around. I think it's more
then-
it's
the
talked
violence
about,
of it.
and it's
You
talked
see,
about now more.
It's gotten, but see, the
Oh,
sort
it's
of stuff they're
shocking.
watching, it's
Yeah.
like, one thing back in the day, you had a magazine with some topless models. Now it's like hundreds of thousands of like videos that are like frankly disgusting, some
It's
of what's in
debasing
them.
and it's violent at the same time.
And it's so accessible.
And it's so accessible.
Yeah,
That's the thing, and to younger people than before as well.
And the awful thing is that they can get it by accident. They mightn't even want it. They might be looking up My Little Red Pony and God knows what comes up.
Yeah.
Sorry to be crude,
And they
but
don't
you
even
know
know
it's
what it is
true.
then. Yeah.
Any old thing comes up.
Yeah.
I said to a few people when I was coming to speak today, they kind of said, what kind of issues? And I said, we had the 8th and Me Too. And I would say it was 50-50. A lot of people said, what was Me Too? Yeah, and you see, I'm not particularly active on social media, nor would my partner be, and a lot of our social group wouldn't necessarily be super active on, like, I don't know what Snapchat is or how to use it, and I'm 30 or 32, and maybe I should, but,
Don't worry.
there are a cohort of people out there that are not, super active in social media and miss those things. So I had an awareness of Me Too, all right, and I read the news and I'd, try and stay abreast of current affairs. But I think some people are in this social media world where everything in social media is the world, but there are still plenty of people out there that aren't and, aren't even aware of those kind of things.
It's a good point, actually. I mean, Me Too started out as a hashtag, so that's where it came from.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can understand why. And like a lot of stories kind of from Me Too were shared on, so came from social media, were shared on social media, weren't necessarily making the newspapers or...
And there's always at least 2 sides to every story, if not more. And I'm always very wary of getting on a bandwagon or, an issue. I'm just the kind of person I need to be informed. Again, I'm not very heavy on social media, but I kind of try to be because of my kids, to see what they're hearing and what they're watching and what they're listening to, and they're certainly getting a very, very specific view of something like the Me Too, rather than if you're not on social media and you're listening to current affairs or reading newspapers, you get I won't say a more balanced view, but you just get different.
It's a different view.
A completely different view, whereas the hashtag Me Too was very much a campaign, with one side.
Yeah, I feel there was a bandwagon with Me Too to some extent, and I worry that there were people jumping on that bandwagon, and it may devalue the concerns of people that really did have a legitimate
concern.
So I think with the Me Too thing, certain stories came out that might not have been a story a couple of years ago. You might not even have known that something like that was so wrong that's assault.
Yeah.
Certain nightclubs were known for being a place that we wouldn't go when we were in college because you would get groped, and it was just an accepted fact that was what the nature of that nightclub was.
Is there not an argument though? My concern about Me Too was always that Me Too is a victim's position, and that if we're going to take something and run with it, it should be something that's more empowering women, as opposed to, and I don't at all want to demean people who truly are victims, but that when people are jumping on that bandwagon and Me Too, and someone grabbed my bum in a certain nightclub, Me Too, where there are women in other parts of the world who are truly oppressed and truly victims of horrific violent sexual crime, that it just, that people are making themselves victim, which is automatically a weaker state, and say something like this is not consent, that's a much more powerful and empowering campaign, and that we should get behind the likes of that as opposed to something that's victim centric.
That's interesting. I hadn't really kind of thought about the phrasing, and
it does come back though to the social media and the internet is not the real world, but it is to so many people. It is day-to-day life, whereas really when you come out of your social media into the world, it's very different.